The better your skills, the more leverage you have. But you can never overplay your hand. I feel like good I can say that in Vegas. You know, there's a lot of poker rooms out here, right? But overplaying your hand means is that you think that you're smarter than you really are. You think that they need you more than you need them. You think you're that much better than option B. You know what? Miscongeniality doesn't look so bad. And you have to understand that is that when you get into one of these discussions about compensation and negotiation, you really need to know kind of where you sit in relationship to others, how badly you want to acquire the experience, and how important that experience is to your ultimate long-term goal.
You didn't mention career terrorism.
Oh, well, I love, one of my favorite statements is career terrorism. You know, how many of you guys hire people or, have people who work for you? You ever like when somebody comes to your office and say, look, you know, if you don't give me $10,000, I'm going to quit my job? And how do you respond to that as manager? You got to love that, right? I'm going to say, get out of here, right? I mean,
enjoy that new job.
But you know what, though? People do that still. In the dot-com days, that was common practice. But you know what? There's a way to go out and do it. And talking to your employer about, maybe you had some life changes. Maybe you can say, hey, look, you know what? I'd really like to remain working here. Everything is great about my job, but I need to earn more money, and I'm hoping you can find a way to get it for me. And you know what? You can make a decision after that. But you have to think about, you have to negotiate like a business person. You know, if I negotiate with a customer and say, you know, you have to give me this, take it or leave it, they're going to say leave it. You have to work with people, and you got to understand that.
All right, the last part of most org charts is R&D. And when we're talking about R&D, we're not talking about it the way most security companies do it. We're thinking more like an Intel or a GE, where there's actually the thought of real investment. You see it on the news that GE allocates $200 million to research and development, which basically means how do I go out and find new stuff? How do I put new stuff in the pipeline that will be part of the product in 3, 4, 5, 10 years that will continue to make my business evolve?
I mean, if you don't invest in yourself, if you don't reinvest in your career is going to fail. That's going to be your exit strategy. Failure, redundancy, mediocrity. And I think the common thing is this, is that, you know, anytime you make an investment in your career, and the way I define it, a career investment might be anything by, it could be a certification, it could be education, it could be training, it could be something completely off the wall that gives you a common linkage with somebody. It could be golf lessons, it could be wine tasting. Now those might be a little bit more fun than getting a CISSP or a SAN certification. But you know what though? You're also playing to your audience. If you know that your audience likes to golf, maybe that's something you want to do. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody should go out and, you know, become Tiger Woods, but I'm saying is this, is that you have to pick career investments that help augment and help get you to your career goals and figure those things out, what that means for you. And getting back to like some of these standard investments like the CISSP and, you know, all these other like a basic training or, you know, coming to a conference, those are good investments, but they're all safe investments. Think about how many people come here. Think about how many CISSPs there are. They're going to sustain your business. They're not going to grow it. So you got to think about it that way. You have to choose investments that are going to differentiate you from your competitors, not keep you on the same line with them.
Anybody in here ever taken a really weird training just to get a skill that nobody else has? What was it? Human relations. You know, in our industry, that's definitely a differentiator sometimes. AS400 security.
Retro.
Yeah, that's the retro investment. That's awesome.
That's good, though.
No, but that's I mean, that's about offering something unique to your customer, right? Anybody else?
Anybody do something like, completely wacky? Or how many people have a master's degree here? Okay. How many people have a master's degree in information security? Why did you guys choose to get a master's in information security? Anyone? Like, why that degree? Why that specialization over others? Question. So, when you were deciding that, did you decide more to focus on information? Why didn't you focus on like more of an MBA type of a skill program as opposed to information security? And that's a great answer. I mean, and that's a great answer. I think that when you start thinking about any of these big education investments, you have to think about, what is the branding of that investment and what other people care and think about that branding, right? I mean, if you went and you start, I think I'm going to be out of order here, but yeah, I mean, but if you start thinking about, like, if somebody and I'm not making judgments when I say this, but I want you to think, I'm going to say some things. If you were interviewing for a position and you had one candidate who had a master's degree from the University of Phoenix and you had another candidate who had a master's degree from any Ivy League school, what would you think of the branding of those two different master's programs? Would you have any preconceived notions when the person walked in the door? If you only had to choose one person to interview, who would you interview? Right? So you have to think about the branding of the investments. The best way you can think about before you make an investment, if I had somebody and I met them who had this investment, what would be my blink reaction to that person? You have to think about that with your career, because you're going to spend money, you're going to spend your time, you're going to spend your effort, and there's going to be sacrifice. So before you go out and plunk down money and plunk down your time, think about the value of that investment to yourself and to people who are going to help you get to where you want to go.
And ultimately, what Lee's saying is that you have to calculate return on investment. You have to calculate your ROI. Now, your return on an investment might be more than financial. You're happier. That's a great return on investment. You followed your passion. You did what you loved. That's pretty freaking cool. It might be that you have increased career acceleration, opportunities for more things, more access, more respect. These are all intangible returns on the investments that you can make. But you have to think about it.
Sure, and so we're running a little bit low on time, so I'll give you my our 3 standard rules on career investments, and very simple. You get what you pay for. I mean, that to me is very important. And anytime you invest in yourself, generally speaking, it's money well spent. Getting better, no matter what it is good. It's always better to get better. Can't go wrong getting better. Can't go wrong getting smarter. And if you don't invest in yourself, don't expect anybody else to. Because corporations have different reasons for investing than you as you do. If they're writing the check, it's because it benefits them. If you're writing the check, it's because it benefits you. And you got to think about that.
All right. Last thing in a corporate structure is the board of directors. CEO always has a board that they are both accountable to, but that provide advice to them. So I ask you, who is your board of directors? We often, the word mentor has been thrown around a lot in our industry in the last couple of months. This is where mentorship comes in. Who do you go to for advice? Who do you go to talk about your career? And your board of directors, you should identify who those people are. Who are you going to talk to the next time you make a career decision? I know who mine are. I have 4 people that I always talk to. And those people will come from all different parts of your network. Peers, people you've worked for in the past, people you work for now, industry experts. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people that talk to him about their career decisions before they make it. You know, he's just really good at that kind of stuff.
Well, I think the one thing is this is you get in my line of work you get perspective and you get to listen to folks. But I mean, I think that when you start thinking about your board of directors, the thing that are important when you select these people to give you guidance is that they should have the same ethics and values that you have, and they should always have your best interest at heart. They can never have their own hidden agenda. And you have to use your gut to flush that out. But before you start trusting people, make sure they're reading off make sure that they're aligned with how you think.
We have a cheat sheet. It'll be up on the blog later. You can go download this.
But, so, I mean, let's just give you guys some conclusions to walk away from this with, right? I mean, look, we just dealt with 2 years of crazy economics, and depending on who you listen to on CNBC, we don't know if that's behind us or ahead of this. But whatever it is that we should recognize that this economy has had a really eye-opening effect to everyone, and you should all be cognizant of the macroeconomic pictures that you might be facing. I also think this is that certifications are signal theory. We talked about it before. The certifications that you'll get are valuable, but do not rely on them wholeheartedly. If you do, you're making big mistakes. In the future, employers are going to have a lot. The world's getting smaller. Social networks. I was talking to somebody I met out last night. I know him for a while, and he said to me, you know what, I got a real problem. Someone took a video last night and posted it on YouTube. This guy employs 20 people that work for him. He's on Vegas on a business trip. I'm sure that he's going to deal with that when he gets back. So people are judging you at all time. The other thing I talked to you about is this, is that how many people use LinkedIn? How many people have had like a real big... How many people has LinkedIn had a huge impact on their lives? So the idea of a network and the idea of a meaningful network are 2 different things. So you have to think about building a meaningful and effective network, not just building a network. Your network has to be actionable, it has to be responsive, and it has to be able to get you a result. That's key. Security pros are going to have to be a lot more business savvy in their career. When we do a CISO search for a client, instead of them asking, can we have a security person who understands business, they ask us, I need a business person who understands security. That's the litmus test now. When you start thinking about your career itself, is that you have to write that career plan. Take some time, write that career plan. Think this out. Think about where you want to go, where you want to get to. You will be less disappointed. If you have a plan, you'll probably act towards that plan. And you're going to have to differentiate yourselves from your peers. Everybody wants the same thing. Security is becoming more and more popular. Competition is heating up. For every good position that we recruit for, everybody's qualified. It's just the degree of qualification and the nuances of the customer who's making the decision.
And just to wrap up, if you look at all the functions on that cheat sheet, try and imagine running a company without one of them. Imagine running a company without finance, or without sales, or without marketing, or without a product. You can't. You can't run your career without it either. Take this and use it. It's